This is Healthcare Marketing RX, where our goal is to help the decision makers of the practice owner, the practice manager, make good decisions about marketing. What should be in your marketing plan? What should you stop or what could you stop doing in your marketing plan? What does good look like for the components that you have in your marketing plan? You're not the ones who are going to be doing the marketing yourself, at least in most cases. You're either going to be asking some of your staff to do it, or maybe you're going to outsource it to somebody, to some other agency. But nevertheless, you're the one spending the money on it. And so what we want to try to help you do is to make better, more informed decisions about all the different types that are marketing that are out there. And today we're going to zero in on email and email campaigns and whether they should be a part of your practice's marketing plan. And the moment you hear email, there's an elephant in the room. So let's just get it out of the way right now. And it is this: I hate getting emails. If you are listening to this, I'll bet you've said this to yourself already. I can tell you I hate them too. I delete a lot of emails in my inbox, most of them. I unsubscribe from lists all the time. The emails that I hate getting are the ones that I have no idea why I'm getting them, how they relate to my life, either personal or professional, how I got on that list, what are they talking about? All of those things are true. And those are the emails that people really hate getting. And then there's others who just hate to get every type of email out there. It is true. Probably nobody loves getting emails. At least nobody loves getting all the emails that they get. But one of the things that we're going to show you is how to try to really limit the people who say, if not eliminate, but at least limit a lot, the people who say that about the emails that you do if you follow the steps that we're going to talk about here. So generally speaking, we believe that email campaigns should be a part of your marketing plan, can be a part of your marketing plan. And what we're going to do is show you some of the tips to integrate it in a way that's not breaking the bank, limits this feeling amongst potential patients and current patients. And obviously the end goal is to help you get more patients. And so there's two types of patients that we're going to talk about: potential patients and actual patients. And let's get into it. Let's talk about potential patients and how do they find you? So generally speaking, there's four ways. You can be on their insurance list and they call up their insurance carrier and get your name. They can be referred to you by a friend or family member of a current patient or by a professional referral source like another physician, for example. They can just find you online on their own, or they can drive by your office, see your signage and say, wow, I want to check them out. That's not a mainstay, but don't totally discount that. Some of you are on really high street traffic areas. Your signs are seen by lots of eyeballs every day. It's worth having some good signage. It's not the point of today. So let's zero in on emails. Email can fit principally in these two areas: referrals and then people finding you online on their own. We'll come back to referrals in a second. We're going to zero in on people finding you online on their own, potential patients. And so here's how it works. Really, the theme here is educating patients about the problems that you solve, and then continuing to educate, forevermore with email. And already, hopefully, when you hear that word, that is starting to say to you, okay, these are not the types of emails that I hate. So here's how the flow works. You put out a piece of educational content that solves a problem that a potential patient has that you're good at solving. You then give them that content because you're going to ask them for your email list and they're going to download it. And now that you got your email list, you can now send them regular informative content ongoing. So here's an example, a problem that a patient has that you're good at solving. Former client is a podiatry practice. There are a fair number of patients that they have who are diabetics, and diabetics can have foot problems, foot wounds, foot ulcers, and they believe they're very good at solving those, and the patient population suggests that they have that they do. And so in their case, we put out a nice article, pretty in-depth article on the top things that diabetics can do. I forget the title, to sort of self-care for their feet. And now it's online. And then we started to put it out there and promote it so that people who fit that description could decide if they wanted to download that email, to download that article on their own. So they would click on an advertisement. In our case, it was Facebook. They have to put in their email to download the article. Now they've got it. And now that they're on our list, we would continue to send them more continuing to educate, continuing to be informative content. In our case at Market Advisory Group, we really like newsletters. We don't overload people with newsletters. For us, it's once a month. That feels like a good balance. But nevertheless, that's what we do. And some of those people eventually do turn into patients because they're seeing our content regularly. Some of them also unsubscribed. It's the nature of the beast with email, but nevertheless, it was working for them. The thing with going after patients, trying to get more patients who don't know you and you don't know them, is you've got to promote it in different ways. You've got to promote it one way or the other. The online ways are pretty common. You can use social media channels. Like I said, we used Facebook. You want to use the channel or channels that make the most sense for you. Instagram's another good one. And it's nice that Facebook owns Instagram. So when you're managing this or somebody on staff is managing this, you can manage both your Facebook page and your Instagram page from kind of one back-end portal, and it makes it pretty convenient. You can also do some promotion directly through search engines. That's typically paid ads, whether it's Google or Bing or whatever. But the point is, remember, these potential patients don't know you yet. You don't know who they are yet. And you're trying to funnel in a way to the people who are most interested in the problems that you solve. Those are the ones who can be your patients anyway. And then once they download the content, you've got them. And now you can start to educate them continually through regular informative content. As far as what could a budget look like for doing emails in this example, so I intentionally don't have numbers here because numbers can be all over the map. But here are the components of what I just went through. One, you've got to have a piece of content that's worthy for somebody to download. It's got to be valuable. It's got to be in depth enough. It's got to speak to the problem that you're trying to solve, etc. But you could do that yourself. You can write that, and that's just your time. It's no money, or you can hire somebody else to do it. And the reason this is arranged is because it can be a simple design. It can be a very elaborate design. It can be a video. It can be written. So it's really kind of hard to tell. But at the low end, it could be free. You need some kind of advertising budget. This can be a little or a lot. This can be as little as $10 or $20 a month. If you're on Facebook and you think your patients go to Facebook, among other places, you can do what's called boosting. Boosting on Facebook is a form of advertising. You create a post, which is free, and then you boost it. And you define the audience that you want it to go to, and then Facebook's just going to show it to that audience. Now, in our example, you're not able to select diabetics with foot ulcers, for example, in Facebook. You can't get to that level of information, but you can define other things. You can define the geography around your office. It's pretty granular. And for $10 or $20 a month, when you boost the posts, that gets you on the lower end here, and it can get you a lot of exposure. You're going to need an email marketing tool. That's where the email addresses are going to go. This can be a little or this can be a lot. For example, with Constant Contact, which is the email tool that we prefer, you can have up to 500 contacts for $20 a month, and you get all the functionality, which is pretty good. It's also HIPAA compliant, which is a big deal for you if you're a covered entity, and that's one of the reasons that we like it, but it doesn't have to be a lot. And then you need regular ongoing emails. I talked about a newsletter. You don't have to do a newsletter. You could do a single few sentence email. You could do a little bit more. You could write a newsletter yourself, or you could have somebody else do it, or you could use the newsletter tools inside Constant Contact or all the other ones that are out there. And then the last part is your time. So if we added up the lower end, this could be nothing. This could be, let's say it's $30 a month. This is another $20, $50, and then $50 a month plus time is $600 a year. I know that's the low end, and I'm not trying to avoid what the upper end could be. It really does depend on how elaborate and how much you're doing these other components. But nevertheless, the low end can be pretty low. And so if that's the kind of thing that fits your budget, then already maybe it's worth considering doing for you. So that's the one way and the concept of getting potential patients. Now let's talk about the other source, current patients, and why do they stay with you? And referral sources, those who send you new patients, why do they refer to you? Well, it's the same reason. They're clearly happy with you. Current patients are getting a good clinical experience. You're solving their clinical problems. And they also like the rest of the experience. It's easy to schedule or reschedule. Billing is easy. The front desk is nice. The nurses are nice. They have a good experience. There's really no reason why they would leave you because you're meeting their needs. And for referral sources, it's pretty similar. When a referral source sends you a patient, you treat them well, you give them good care, and you treat them as well as their current patients. And let's just call it what it is. You're helping make the referral source look good. There's no blowback to the referral source about, why did you send me to that one? That practice was terrible. That doesn't happen. And so it doesn't cause any problems for the referral sources. It actually does the opposite. It makes the referral source look better and more valuable to the patient that they sent to you. So the reason to consider email marketing and email campaigns for current patients and referral sources is because out of sight, out of mind is a very powerful force. Even though you have lots of current patients, or you may, it's very easy for them to forget not necessarily who you are, although it's possible, but it is easy for them to forget over time the really good experience they had with you. It depends on the nature of your practice. It depends on the nature of your treatments, but this can be true. And for referral sources, probably, while they do refer patients to you, they might also refer patients to other practices that compete with you. And so staying on their mind, not falling out of sight, out of mind, is the force that you want to fight. And email marketing, email campaigns are a good way to fight back against that. So when you're doing that and you're trying to remind them that you're still in practice and you're still really good at what you do, think about the types of good reminders that you could do and bad reminders that you could do. Good reminders are the ones that limit the number of people saying, I hate getting emails from them. I'm unsubscribing from them. And bad reminders do the opposite. So here's a few examples of good reminders. New updates in your field that are relevant to patients or those referral sources. Helpful tips that patients can do on their own. Some practices out there say, why would I show a patient how to do something on their own? I want them to come to me. The reason is because it's very authentic. For example, we've got a client that's a chiropractor, and he is often telling patients, look, I saw you here today, but when you go home, you should do A, B, and C to continue your recovery, your rehabilitation, and get better. He doesn't have to do that, but that's good practice. And then what he finishes it with is, if you feel like A, B, or C, then come back in. It's very authentic, and it's a really good reminder. And I promise you, patients will come back, even if you're trying to help them on their own. New staff have been hired, change of staff. Remember, you as the practice owner or you as the doctor are not the only people that patients interact with in your practice. In fact, patients who come to the practice probably interact with a lot of other people, maybe even more so than you. And so you want to make sure that they know who's coming, who's changing, because it's part of the 360 experience that those patients have with your practice. Same with referral sources. Community participation is another one. You're a good citizen in your community. And there could be other examples. There are other examples of good reminders, but this is just to get you started. Bad reminders are anything that's overly promotional or salesy. Not your style, not your tone, not your voice, anything inauthentic. It's just not you. So when the patient is in the practice, they experience you in one way, but when they read these emails, if they read them or perceive them in a different way, then that's going to create a confusion. They're going to wonder what's going on, and it creates just a bad feeling. And you don't want that. And because you're out to educate and you're not out to, really in their face promote, education does work that way. By reminding them that you're good that you're good at what you do and still in practice with good reminders, they get the point and they associate positive, helpful feelings with you. But anything on the bad column side is really going to work against that. And so when you're thinking about, or when you're listening to this and saying, what would we do with current patients and referral sources? This is what we do. We do that same monthly newsletter. We do new research in their field. We do other things. And again, once a month, clients and referral sources are getting a reminder in their inbox that we're still in practice, and we are good at what we do because we are sending these good reminders out. We are experts in what we do. And let me tell you, we have two clients. They do a newsletter with us, but they only do it to referral sources and current patients. We don't do it to prospective patients. The reasons are different, but the reasons both made sense. And if you've got a large list of patients and a good list of referral sources, then this is a way to get new patients too, and the purpose served is still the same. As far as budgeting, well, the budgeting gets a little simpler because these are already patients that you have and referral sources that you know. You don't have to create the content that's worthy to download. There's nothing that you need to attract them. You've already got them. You don't have to do an advertising budget to get them to download something. So you can cut those two right out. You need the email marketing tool. You need some kind of regular ongoing emails. You need a little bit of time. And so this one's even less expensive to do, no matter where you fall in the spectrum or what you're going to do, than if you're trying to acquire or get more new patients who do not know you yet. So kind of wrapping up here, what are the principles behind this? The first one is be judiciously consistent. So consistency is key with email marketing. Consistency is key with a lot of marketing. I'd rather see you do something that you think is maybe, okay, but do it regularly rather than trying to make something unbelievably good or over the top and only do it every once in a while. So judiciously consistent means do it well, but do it, don't be annoying. And what's the guard on that? What's the line on that? Nobody really knows. Go with your own gut. A once a month newsletter, it's hard to argue that that's too in the face of anybody. Yes, some people will feel that way anyway, but probably a lot of people won't. If you're doing something 2 or 3 times a week, by comparison, you might be starting to cross that line. People wonder why a medical practice is emailing them that much. But a once a month, maybe a twice a month, something or other, be consistent, just be judicious about it. Second one is good, not perfect. Whatever it is that you do, it's going to get better over time. Do not let perfect become the enemy of the good. Get something out there, do it as best you can. Watch, these email marketing tools give you a fair amount of data on how many people opened, who opened it, et cetera, stuff that you can use to start to make things better. And you're never going to be perfect ever. You're not going to be your best on the first few tries. But if you do it consistently, judiciously consistent over time, they will get better. You'll start to like them more. Don't let that stop you. When you do email marketing, you must be HIPAA compliant. When you take a patient's email address and you pair it with their name, you now have protected health information, PHI. You're now in the world of HIPAA. And so you've got to make sure that you are using a HIPAA compliant tool, email tool, that the people in your practice, if they're going to be doing this, that they are, in your kind of HIPAA umbrella, that they're authorized to see this information. You got to make sure that you check that box. And then you've got to have permission to email them, and you've got to make it easy to unsubscribe. And the good email tools out there, just about every email tool out there, at the bottom of an email usually has a link where they can unsubscribe. So just whichever one you pick, if you end up picking them, just find one that does that. Constant Contact does that. Others do it as well. And it really needs to be on there. And there's the back end, right? So if somebody hates getting your email, all they have to do is unsubscribe. Rather not see them go, but we don't want to keep sending them stuff they don't want either. But thank you for watching this Healthcare Marketing RX video. Our library of these videos is growing. For more information about them or about us, you can go to marketadvisorygroup.com. Thank you.